The Minnesota Vikings versus Houston Texans here. Interesting to me. Look, the first 2 weeks, I forgot who Minnesota. I know they played Green Bay. I forgot who they got in week 2. Was it? I know they played Tennessee last week. I forgot who they got, but either way, I mean, the first 2 weeks they were having trouble getting the running game going. I think last week against the Titans, they finally got it going. Teams are keying in on Adam Thielen, but Justin Jefferson, that rookie receiver, basically, when you look at it, although it didn't work out this way, but it was basically you trade the Stephon Diggs for the Bills' first-round pick. They use that first-round pick on Justin Jefferson. So they trade Stephon Diggs, who's balling out in Buffalo right now, for the right to pick Justin Jefferson. And I said at the time, I don't love that move for present day value, but future value, I get it. Diggs, he was kind of a locker room distraction last year. Are they going to trade him?
He wasn't, right? Was he the worst you ever saw? I mean, what was the problem?
He wasn't the worst, but you know how football coaches are, man. They just don't like that stuff. They don't like wide receivers.
And it's not good for morale. It's not good for the locker room. By the way, the Vikings played the Colts in week 2.
Ah, there you go. And I like the Colts quite a bit. The Vikings have had
11.
I wouldn't say it's Houston Texans level, but they got jobbed by the schedule too.
They've had a tough road of it, man. They really have.
Yeah, and not only that, but they got the Colts after a loss, in my opinion, a bad loss to the Jacksonville Jaguars. So, the Colts were coming out. Their defense is good. Their offense is better than last year. So the Minnesota Vikings, Houston Texans, I keep saying this, and even fans of their own fan bases, when they see this on YouTube or whatever, they'll comment and they say, our team sucks. I don't think their teams suck. I really don't, which is why we're talking about this matchup.
I don't think they suck. Look, the first 5 games, they had Packers, Colts, Titans, Texans, Seahawks. Right?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's a brutal one too. It's not Houston-esque, but it's brutal enough.
And remember too, Minnesota, and this isn't, again, it's not a shock to me because we've been talking about this in the offseason. Minnesota, in addition to losing Diggs, which you were more up in arms than I was about the loss of Diggs. I thought the offense would be fine. The first 2 weeks, they didn't look great. But again, they were playing some stiff competition. Like Green Bay's defense is better than you think. Even though they gave up a lot of points to Minnesota, a lot of those were in garbage time. New Orleans is New Orleans.
Yeah, go ahead. You know why I thought it was a big deal for them? Because I don't think Kirk Cousins is that quarterback that makes everybody else better. Mm-hmm. I think he's really good when he has weapons.
Yeah, I agree.
That's the type of guy he is.
He's a distributor. I think if we were to do a quarterback rankings, we do it from time to time, just kind of, we play the would you rather. Would you rather have this quarterback or this quarterback? Kirk Cousins, for both of us, is not in the upper echelon. I don't think anybody would make the argument. I don't think Minnesota would make the argument at this point.
Right.
But when he has weapons, he can distribute well. And what I liked last season was, he played better in the big spots, which is something new for him. He always kind of shrunk in those big moments in the national TV games and that, and got to win to get in the playoffs. Back for Washington back in the day, he didn't always do that, but he grew. But Minnesota's defense has a lot of new parts, and
another thing.
This is supposed to be the strength of the team, and they're well coached. And so what I've said all along, Brad, even like the week before the season, I said, look, this defense is going to take time. Green Bay will be better than Minnesota to start the year. And then I thought that Minnesota at the end of the year would be better than Green Bay, although I'm walking that back at this point. I think Green Bay's the real deal. I love what LaFleur is doing in Green Bay.
Me too. It looks creative. It looks on point. They're flowing, hitting different guys deep, short. It's all working.
And I didn't think he was creative last year, LaFleur. So I like the next step, this season 2, this progression of the offense, I like a lot more what they're doing. Maybe there's a little bit of mind meld between him and Aaron Rodgers and this weird pandemic Skype, season. They spent a lot of time together, more than they probably honestly usually would, just on Skype. And so anyway, Minnesota, I don't think they're a bad team. I did predict that they would make the playoffs, although 0-3 in the NFC, it's super deep. I don't think that they can make the playoffs at this point, especially.
That's a tough hole, man. And in their own division, Chicago's 3-0.
3-0, and they finally made that that move to Foles.
Right.
At this point, I think Chicago, if they stick with Foles, you're going to get some ups and downs with Foles. I don't think he's the answer either. You're going to get some Jekyll and Hyde with him. We say that he's more Ryan Fitzpatrick than he is even a Jared Goff. Yeah. I mean, he'll get you some balls out games. He doesn't shrink in the big moment, but sometimes he just has brain farts. And so that's what you get with Foles, man. But yeah, I would say Minnesota at this point is my third favorite team in the division. And I don't think that's good enough to get you in this year. There's too many good teams in the West. Dude, that whole NFC West is baller, man.
Man, that West is something else.
Whew. Yeah, San Francisco, half their team's injured for the second year in a row, and they're 2-1.
Right, and they beat the crap out of I think it was the Jets, right?
Yeah, they beat the Jets and the Giants, so nothing, the opponents, it's basically
nothing to write home about, but they're still winning decidedly.
That does say something.
That says something no matter who you're playing in the NFL.
And they get the struggling Eagles this week, too. So they could be 3-1 going through these nasty injury stretches. So unlike these two teams, the Minnesota Vikings and Houston Texans, the schedule has been kind to the San Francisco 49ers. But let's look at Houston for a little bit. Houston, to me, Pittsburgh, look, that game was kind of out there for them to win. I ended up that was one of the games I got right last week against the spread, and it was about what I thought it would be. I mean, it was kind of back and forth. Both teams had opportunities. Will Fuller played. That always makes a difference for Houston. But, trading DeAndre Hopkins, this is the game of two teams that should never have traded their top receiver.
Sure.
DeAndre Hopkins, to me, I understand the Minnesota situation because he wasn't public, Stephon Diggs. He didn't come out. He wasn't like a major distraction, but you knew behind the scenes there was grumbling and Minnesota was getting annoyed with him and they trade him. And you generally don't pay a receiver, and I don't disagree with that. And Stephon Diggs had money. He wanted more money. They got rid of him. Okay. Houston and DeAndre Hopkins, that's the one receiver in the league, maybe one of two, but probably the one of one receiver that every time he asked for a raise, I'd give it to him.
Yeah, right. He wasn't a locker room problem. He seemed like a good guy. He carried that team a lot.
He did.
He was the man. It's almost the same situation. These two teams struggling for letting their best player go.
Yeah, Houston, I'm sorry. If they had DeAndre Hopkins, they would have won that game last week. They would have. And I think you could make an argument they would have been in the game more against the Houston Texans to begin the year. Losing him, he's the one receiver in the league. When they were playing with like TJ Yates and that ex-Pittsburgh quarterback, I can't even remember his name, the guy was still putting up 150-yard and 2 touchdown games.
Almost unstoppable.
He's the only receiver I've seen in the last decade that you take your starting quarterback out who's baller and you place him with garbage, and he still puts up as good of numbers. Like, his numbers don't decline because he's that good of a receiver. So to me, when he's going to management and he's saying, I want to raise, like, he wasn't doing the Terrell Owens crunches in the driveway and curls in front of the press thing. Yeah. He's just like, I want to raise. He deserved it.
Yeah, he absolutely deserved it. And so this is what happens when you get cheap on people.
Yeah. And I think it was bad. I think if there was a general manager there and it wasn't the head coach general manager combo of O'Brien, Bill O'Brien.
Murphy.
Yeah, Murphy.
O'Callahan. O'Brien and Murphy.
So, if it wasn't that combo, I think they would have gotten something done. Trading him, Deshaun Watson, like he's still an awesome quarterback. He's still distributing the ball. He's still got Will Fuller. Randall Cobb, gave you a touchdown last week. But trading DeAndre Hopkins for a second-round pick and David Johnson, who's on the tail end of his career, they were just trying to get rid of Hopkins because they didn't like the attitude. That's what it came down to. And that's what was happening with the New York Jets. You can't get along with people and you trade them out, and then the wheels come off. And in the NFL, the competition is so fierce, and you got a better Indianapolis team, and you got a Tennessee team who I think is the real deal. Although
there's something else. I like them a lot.
So, again, Houston and Minnesota, to me, dropped to third in these divisions. I don't think they're bad teams, but Stephon Diggs, DeAndre Hopkins makes all the difference for these teams, and it has. Yeah. Minnesota would have won last week if they had Diggs.
Right, and it's tough to know. I'm starting to wonder exactly what you get with Deshaun Watson. Like, who is he? Is he more Kirk Cousins? Like, does he lean that way, or is he more Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes? Like, where along the scale do we find that guy? And it's odd because he's been in the league for a couple of years now, 2 or 3, and I still don't even really know.
Yeah, I guess this would be his third year because Mahomes, he came in the Mahomes year. So I'm sorry, his fourth
dynamic.
year.
He's
played
dynamic, but the thing is that he's not necessarily a winner to this point. He hasn't had a whole lot of success.
I give him the benefit of the doubt there because he's won everywhere he's been prior to this.
Yeah,
I think the organization has failed him, and getting rid of Hopkins is another thing that's just like, why are you making it so hard on this guy? Because he's a really good quarterback, but who does he have to throw to? He's got Brandon Cooks, he's got Randall Cobb, and Will Fuller, who, I'm sorry, he's injured every single game. If he's playing, he's still banged up.
Yeah,
And David
and
Johnson.
Randall Cobb, he's great, but he was a really good number 2 6 years ago,
Right,
So,
right.
So what are you really getting from that guy?
Exactly.
You can't have more than a year or two left.
Yeah, and you look at Patrick Mahomes, what the Chiefs have done. You know, you surround him with superior coaching, and they make a concerted effort to get him weapons everywhere they can.
Sure.
That's what Green Bay, by the way,
exactly right.
used to do with Aaron Rodgers back in Randall Cobb's heyday.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson, what have they done? They gave him the contract. You get DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, who as a combo, I'd put them against any other two combo wide receivers.
Combo.
And DK Metcalf is going to be a star for years in this league. He's just built physically. Houston's just doing the opposite. What are they doing for him? They're not doing anything.
I don't know what that is. It's kind of odd.
Yeah, you got your quarterback finally, and then you get rid of all the weapons.
I know.
For years, they had weapons and no quarterback. Now they have the quarterback and no weapons. What's going on there? It's crazy.
And now this is the result, 0-3. Not even really competing. I don't think the games were that close, do you?
Pittsburgh was.
Pittsburgh was closer, but it felt like that maybe Pittsburgh had it, was in control of it.
Well, they were down for a while, but once they got the lead, it was over. Like, once the momentum shifted, they didn't have any counter.
It was done, yeah.
Let me hit you with the line here. Got to find it on my sheet. Where are you? Okay, so Bovada has Minnesota +4 against Houston.
To me, this is a coin flip game, but I think this is going to be a bad year for Minnesota. I'm going to take Houston. Get on the board.
Houston, I like Houston, but 4 points? Man, I can't give any more than a field goal. Minnesota showed some signs of life. Finally, the offense gets going. Everybody was like, say, okay, Justin Jefferson, let's see if he can beat us. And he did last week. Let's see if he can do it 2 weeks in a row. For me, it is kind of a coin flip game, but I feel like it's a field goal game. So I'm just going to take Minnesota here.
Minnesota is not inept, right? They're not a dumpster fire. They can compete. But they're definitely missing that one punch that makes them dominant.
Yeah. And maybe they'll get that when the defense, because I think it's a win, when the defense gets better from Minnesota.